Hi everyone, it's Gold Boxing 40, and today I wanted to talk about Windows 11 reinstall for PC gamers and Windows Home users. By the time you're watching this recording today, it's about how you can manage reinstalling Windows entirely. And this is something that a lot of you probably are wondering know how for educational purposes. So if you do know how to reinstall Windows entirely, it may take a while for a process to take and learn how to do this. Now, if I really highlight something here for you guys to do this. Now, if you want to watch actual video tutorials how to reinstall Windows, there are videos on YouTube that you can work on. I'm going to try to do a short, brief video on this to make it not make it too long. But as you can see, as a disclaimer, just to let you know, this is going to erase your entire solid state drive or M.2 drive completely off your computer. If you may have if there corrupted data or any sort of information has been damaged or corrupted in the process, this is going to make the problem go away. Now, if let's just say you had a infection, which is like malware or a virus, this is something that is going to erase this issue entirely and it makes games a lot more smoother and work efficiently the way you want it to work. Now, as I'm going to highlight this, it's going to be like this. You want to reinstall Windows, which is create Windows 11 installation media, which is I call it the Create Windows Media tool. And as you are seeing this highlighted and highlighted here, this is what you're going to need to do. Now, if you are using a gaming desktop like I am, I self-taught myself how to reinstall Windows entirely because I had a corrupted file that will not stop, but I had to go into the source to get rid of the issue entirely to prevent it from coming back. Now, I do want you to know that this is a way to make things less an issue and make things less a problem. I'm teaching you this way to exactly what you need to do is you honestly have to make sure your Windows 11 is reinstalled. If you have a Windows Home Pro, and if you're thinking about, maybe upgrading it to Windows Home Pro, that's up to you. Now, I do want to give you a quick brief on this, is to take this website, for example. This is the website called gqa.com, where you can find cheaper versions of Windows to install your operating system. Now, I just wanted to just inform you to let you know what you're going to know about and be informed about the situation. I want you to understand this before you start making decisions. Just be aware what you're going to have to do. Now, the reason for the Windows 11 Home Pro or Windows Home is a way to let you know what you probably don't know. If you took your computer for a diagnosis to a retail store like Best Buy, and the fact what they do not tell you when they back up your files, you're still containing the issue that still persists, which means that whenever they do a cloud backup, which is a clone of your M.2 drive or a solid state drive, that collected data is coming with it. So, in order to get rid of it entirely, you're not going to do a recovery reset like this. This is what I'm going to highlight, which is the recovery icon. Okay, you do not want to click on reset PC or do a start reset. Now, you do not want to do that option. That is not what you want to do. You basically want to wipe your entire Windows operating system. That's when it comes to play. The reason for this method is to get rid of all your bad infections or your GAG beta from your computer. What that means is getting all the GAG information like viruses, infections, malware, all that gets erased. Now, we're talking about the M.2 or solid state drive. What that means that if a retail like Best Buy reinstalls Windows and you still have that same issue, basically your Windows installation was not completely wiped. It was basically cloned, and the fact that is not a good sign to do. Now, yes, if you do have a working computer that has Windows 11 or Windows 10 on it, likely you need to take this very seriously because you need to do this correctly. And the fact I'm going to mention this is that when you do a recovery reset PC, you are basically doing this. You do not want to do keep my files, remove apps, but saves, keep my settings and application personal files. That is not what you want to do. What you also do not want to do is remove everything, remove all your personal files, apps, and settings. That is not what you want to do there either. That's not what you want to do because that is not where we're going to do it all. We are going to reinvent Windows 11 from the very beginning, the way you installed it, the way it should be. Now, like I mentioned before, there is another option to do this, but there is a way that you need to understand. I would take this method very cautiously and very seriously before you do this next step. The reason for this is what you're going to have to understand. There are ways to have your motherboard or your hard drive remembering something that may have that corrupted data still in there and it's not totally gone. Now, in order to make this problem be less of an issue, now you want to make sure you have a Windows activation key. Now, if you did upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11 and it was a free upgrade, likely you don't have a watermark. But 9 out of 10 times, if you do have a new motherboard or a M.2 and it doesn't remember the product key, then your product key may be linked to your original motherboard or hard drive. So in order to do this, it could be a little bit easier than what you can do to make the problem go away. Now, I mentioned about this website I was going to explain to you. Is this website is called G2A.com. Now, if you do not have a product key whatsoever, there is a way to resolve this. Now, yes, it's gonna cost $20, but if you are thinking about spending hundreds of dollars on a product key from Windows, don't do it. Because unless you know it's an optional thing that you want to do it, but that's not what I do recommend it. It's not what you want to do. I'm going to show you the difference between buying a third party product key and versus buying a full Windows operating system from Windows or a retail store like Best Buy, because you're going to spend tons of money on a product that is going to cost way more than what you're going to pay for. You're going to pay less than what you need by doing that. So the best way I can describe this to make this easier for you, if you want to upgrade your Windows to Windows Home or Windows Home Pro, you're looking at $100, not including tax. That's not what you want to do. Alright? So if you're gonna drop $100, you're giving Microsoft your money and your wallet to them to activate a Windows key. That is not what you want to do. We are going to reinvent and do the other option, which means you are going to go into this website here, okay? To VQA website. That is where you can find cheaper product keys like these. Yes, you can reuse the same product key on the same PC or another PC that you have next to you. Or because it doesn't matter how many times you have used that key, if you can still reactivate that same key like it's brand new. Now, it does not tell you how many times you can use it, but you can reinstall Windows with this key. I recently got Windows Home for $20. This is the same price you're gonna get. You're only gonna spend $20, which is not bad for a global key. Yes, if you decide to go for Windows 11 Pro, it's the same things. You're gonna get more extra stuff. But if you want to just do the basic home, Windows 11 Home, then that's fine. You can still use these options because their both are different product keys, and you're going to make it much easier for yourself in the United States. So, this is going to be a best solution option for any of you want to upgrade or just, use a basic product key for Windows 11. The reason for this option is much safer and easier to do. Once you do purchase your product key of your choice, you're going to do this. Going to your settings on your Windows system, then you're going to change your product key here. And you're going to enter your product key that you bought from the website. Once you install the 25-digit key, it's so easy if you do not have your Windows key activation key, that is going to be to say no activating Windows key. Therefore, you do not have one. You may have a free version of Windows 11, but that is tied to a Windows watermark. That means you are going to see a watermark on your screen, what I'm going to show you here. That watermark will exist right on your right hand corner of your screen until you reactivate Windows. Now, if you do have a Windows account and you do have one, I do recommend make one in case you don't have one, because if you don't have a Windows account, you're not able to back up all your files and stuff like that, and that's gonna be a problem. So, in this scenario, and a safer way to make this problem, I already have my Windows key activated because my previous Windows key I had before on my motherboard was tied to my Windows account, but it did not work. So I had to go and buy a third-party Windows key from a third-party website, which is very safe to do. That's why I did myself, and it makes things a lot easier instead of spending $100. Now you're gonna save yourself $80 from spending a full price amount of a full Windows Pro product key from Microsoft. So you don't want to do that method, and then that is honestly the best way you can save yourself $80, because if you are subtracting 100 minus for the amount of your spending, you're saving yourself huge amount of money, and the decision that you make is depending on you. So you're gonna save yourself $80 prior to what you're not gonna pay the full price for Windows Home Pro. And if you want to go with the basic version, that's fine. I would suggest if you are going to choose these options, one of those options are good for you because those options are cheaper based options instead of going to spend a wide variety of money to do a Windows key operation system. What this is going to also save you from spending hundreds of dollars, not including tax, for a Windows key activation key. Because when you go and click that key, you are able to use that key no matter how many times you have it. If you are in the United States like me and you want to use a global key, that is going to be $20 right there. And that's not bad. $20 is really saving you a lot of money. And that's not bad. That's what I did before myself when I bought the key. So once you choose a product key for your decision with any product key, with a Windows Pro or a Windows Home, and you want to upgrade to Windows Pro, that's up to you. You can choose these options. It's much cheaper and less expensive. The full price is mainly $108, but when you go into G2A's website, you are saving yourself 87%. You're saving more money than spending a variety of cash to Microsoft that they want from you out of your pocket. That is not what you want to do there. So just keep that in mind. So when you do want to make a decision to reinstall Windows, you're going to lose a lot of information. So in order to make sure you don't lose that information. Make sure you have a backup device like a laptop, and then transfer that stuff you have, or if you have 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte flash drive, put it on there so that way you have enough to keep your important data information if you are doing it. If you don't care about that and don't have nothing that's necessary, then go right ahead and go to the next step. So when that is said and done, you are going to create that media tool on your flash drive. And once you are done creating that flash drive tool for Windows 11, you're going to reinstall Windows from the very beginning. We're talking about erasing any personal information, pictures, screenshots, games, all of it on your Windows operating system. You're taking everything off the system like it never even wasn't even there. We're coming out with starting to a brand new setup of Windows 11. That is because you're getting rid of all the bad corrupted data off your computer, and that gets rid of all the necessary things like malware, viruses, pop-ups that you're getting. You're erasing all of that off your M.2 hard drive. Once that's said and done, you are able to get into your BIOS. You're going to have to reinvent and get into your BIOS. Please know this is a really, really thing that you have to do. You have to do this the correct way or it will not work. Now, if you do not know how to get into your BIOS, you'll have to spam, when you start your computer up again, you'll have to spam your delete key over and over again until it gets into your BIOS. Once it does go into your BIOS, you have that M.2 and you have a USB 3.0 flash drive that has that reinvent the Windows installation. Once that is said and done, you're going to change the flash drive to the very top of your monitor. You're using your mouse, dragging that reinstall Windows 11. You're going to move your M.2 hard drive from the second spot of the row and then put your 3.0 flash drive on top. Once you do that, you basically are restarting your computer entirely. Okay? So all the bad information, data, like I mentioned, anything related to games, files, corrupted files will all be erased. Even your software programs like OBS or anything else that's related to your Windows like Windows Cloud, you can just reinstall them back. But I do suggest a safer way. I did this to make it easier. Is before you do any of that, take a screenshot of your home screen. That way you know what apps you installed, the games you installed, your programs, everything that your documents that you take. Make sure you screenshot it beforehand. That's what I did to make it easier way so it's not as hard as you think. Because once you forget everything, you gotta go back and find everything, reinstall all of it, and that's how you're going to make it a problem not to exist anymore. So I did this for a good reason because it seems easier for me and I think it will work for you too. But the fact that you're going to put effort to drop $100 to give money, Microsoft money, that's what they want from you, that's not the way you want to do it. If you insist to do the other option around than doing a cheaper route, that is not bad because that is the best way I did it, and it makes things much easier and less complicated to do. But we'll talk about the BIOS. The reason I mentioned about the BIOS because you have to get into your BIOS just to reinstall Windows and Kylie's operating system is to you gotta do this correctly because if you don't do it correctly, then you're gonna break your computer and you might want to really pay attention to do this because if not, then you're gonna have a problem. But if you do not know how to do this, seek a professional, a technician that knows how. But if you're self taught and know how to do it yourself, then great. That is something that you may want to focus on. I would always suggest looking into YouTube videos, review tutorials, walkthroughs. That will help you to teach you how to do it. That way, you know how to do it individually as an independent person that knows how to do it. Like I just did on my own without having someone do it for me. So that being said, I did that on my own without any issue with asking any help from anybody to do it for me because I have a intellect of knowledge of knowing how to do PCs the way it should. But doing PCs is something that it's a lot of work, but just doing things inside your PC makes a lot more sense than just embedding one the way you have all your international parts and power supply and everything else and so on. But I just want you to know once you do all these necessary steps, it's so easy to do. It comes second nature after you get used to it. Tutorial videos that work, walking through all that. It's very, very simple to do. I done it myself and it was very, very knowledgeable and easy to do. Now, this is going to make everything go away, like anything I just mentioned about uh, any malware viruses that was on the corrupted data, or it will be completely like it's completely brand new, like you got a new PC brought home. So, like I mentioned about this, because once you do wipe out the entire system, it's mostly making it here, wake up, clean out everything that was corrupted, and get rid of all the necessary problems, pop-ups, viruses, malware, and everything that you have that make it infecting your computer. even if you didn't see any viruses at all, but still be hidden, I would always suggest to reinstall the entire Windows operating system from the very beginning so that way it's not really hard to do. So if you do want to know how, I do suggest you make sure you learn from a YouTube video and then take it and go from there. It's not that hard. And make sure you have a 3.0 flash drive because if you have anything that has any information on it, it's gonna get wiped out. So just like I said before, just make sure you definitely going to a website got to go to z2a.com to get a product key from that website, and it makes you save some money. Any 7%, any 2%, any Windows key will work globally for the website for those who are in the United States. Okay? So if you are in the United States, then you want to make sure if you are international, you might want to use an international uh, product key that will to your country or if you are in the States like I am, then you use a global key, you can use it anywhere. And if you are, thinking about that option, then that is what you want to do. But I wanted to make sure you guys learned something today. I hope this video was very educational and informative. And honestly, I learned a lot for myself and self-taught how to do things. But just make sure that you do it correctly because if you don't, you will definitely break your computer and you will have some problems you don't want to run into. But that being said, I just wanted to say I hope everything you know, if you do have learned something new today, then I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. But make sure to do it correctly the way it should because that way you won't run into issues. If you do have questions about anything or you want to contact me and let me know, and I will definitely do the best to help you. But this is very simple and easy to make things less hard on you. Because if you do not know what you're doing, please reminder seek out professional technician that knows how. But it's not that complicated for me. If you know how to do technology like I do, it takes no time at all. As always, you guys, to all my gamers and Windows Home users, have a blessed day and have a great weekend. As always, happy gaming and happy streaming.